I want to welcome Agile XRM to the podcast. I've known the people at Agile XRM for the past 12 years. I've seen how their business process management tool can add massive value to complex organizational processes in sectors such as finance and government. If you have complex processes or a need for dialogues on the Power Platform or Dynamics 365, take a look at how this BPM tool can add value. You can find them at agilexrm.com or check out the show notes for more details. Welcome to the Power 365 show, where I interview staff at Microsoft across the Power Platform and Dynamics 365 technology stack. I hope you'll find this podcast educational and inspire you to do more with this great technology. Now, let's get on with the show. Today's guest is located in the USA, originally from Canada. She works at Microsoft as a principal program manager. You can find links to her bio and any other social media in the show notes for this episode, so check that out. Welcome to the show, Emma.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on. Tell us a bit about food, family, and fun before we talk about technology.
Oh, sure. Sounds great. So as you mentioned, I'm originally from Canada. I grew up in, nearby a small town, Eganville, Ontario. It's about 2 hours northwest of Ottawa, so good up there in the middle of nowhere. My parents still live there today, and they're actually visiting with me this week, which is nice. Yeah, I grew up on a lake, so lots of swimming and fishing and outdoor stuff. Continue to do a lot of that for fun. Here in Seattle, I live with my husband and my little dog named Woody. We have a lot of good fun together. So I guess in terms of food, I do like to do a little bit of cooking and baking. I would probably say my favorite meal is salmon and like potatoes and asparagus done really well, and maybe with a nice wine as well. That'd probably be my favorite meal of choice. We have gotten into making quite a bit of homemade ice cream recently.
Wow. Okay.
Kind of like an interesting pandemic hobby we picked up, I guess.
I like
it's very
it.
tasty.
I like it. You know, salmon, it's interesting you say, it's one of your favorite dishes, is that my experience of salmon definitely centers around Seattle, from whether it is down in the markets or I've been out on the sounds and to one of the islands out there and had, salmon there as well. And since coming home and I probably did this maybe 4 years ago, but now at least every 2 months I make a salmon dish as well, because it was such a amazing experience. And I try to, paprika and cumin and stuff like that and get the seasoning right. And it's just such a nice dish.
So delicious. Actually, what we do is a nice maple and barbecue glaze, like bring in that maple syrup from Canadian background, I guess.
Yeah. So good, so good. So tell us about your journey into Microsoft. How did you end up working for them? What's that? Have you always been in the particular product team you're in at the moment? What's that been for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to school at the University of Waterloo in Canada. And that is notable because the program that I did there, Systems Design Engineering, we actually do a bunch of different internships in addition to school. So it's kind of, you go 4 months of school, then 4 months of work, then 4 months of school, all the way out through 5 years. So by the end of it, you've got 2 years of work experience and you're done your school. And so one of my internships was actually on Power Apps at Microsoft before Power Apps was even, out in the world. And I guess the reason why I came back to it is, one, I loved the mission of the product, really spoke to me. And it was just a great opportunity to see all the rest of the people around me so smart and doing things that I wanted to do. And so coming back and also getting to be in Seattle, which has a lot of the outdoors things that I enjoy, just kind of checked all the boxes for me. And so I came back on Power Apps and have been on Power Apps basically that entire time.
Wow. So how many years is that?
So I guess it would be just over 5 years full time, but just over 6 if you also count when I was there before.
Yeah. I saw some photos coming out of the Power Platform conference showing, I think Charles Lamanna had a timeline up of the journey of the Power Platform and what's been happening. And it's interesting because for me, I started in 2003 with Dynamics, and the Power Platform is really just the iteration, I feel, of what we've had for years. So it's exciting times. But tell us about the area of technology within the Power Platform team that you are responsible for.
Yeah. So I spend most of my time thinking about makers and how people create things for Power Apps. So the
Mm-hmm.
actual app creation experience in the studio. So basically myself and my team, whenever you hit that plus new app button or edit
Mm-hmm.
app button, and the experience you get in that studio and what you see and how you add things and how you save and how all that comes together are things that I work a lot on and think a lot out both at work and outside of work.
Yeah. So it is the actual full maker experience, right? Where everybody sits and builds anything.
That's right.
So what's been happening recently with, what are the kind of key highlights that you've landed this year around that maker experience? The things that have probably been asked for a while now in the community. I know things around how do designers get involved with Power Apps, and how do, Fusion teams, more and more being involved in the whole app lifecycle creation. How's that influenced this last 12 months?
So it's been, time on Power Apps is never boring. It's been such an exciting ride, and I think it's only getting better. A lot of the things that have come out in the last year, like Express Design, which is where you can take a Figma file and convert it to an app, or take an image or PDF and upload that. And we use computer vision from actually Azure Computer Vision from Microsoft and
Mm-hmm.
convert that into an app as well. It just like helps people get started faster and farther
Mm-hmm.
than starting from scratch. And it's actually been really interesting for myself to use. If you want to do a quick demo and mock
Mm-hmm.
something up really nice in Figma and convert that to an app, it's super quick. And even talking to folks who have tried out the image to app, that can be useful for a variety of different use cases. Like there's so
Yeah.
many folks out there who have existing forms that are, paper or already in some sort of technology that they want to,
Mm-hmm.
make a Power App out of. Being able to start from that, because it kind of like you're trying to replace that or build on top of that or extend that,
Mm-mm-mm.
is super powerful. And so that's definitely a super great thing that's gone out that we're continuing to invest in to make better over the coming while as well.
Mm-mm. You often see that, subject matter experts or business stakeholders, they've kind of got an idea of what they would like, and they can sketch that up on a napkin even, right? And a piece of paper. This is kind of what I'm looking for. Take a photo of it, upload that, and somebody else could take it on and then start building out. That's just an amazing step forward.
Absolutely. And it's actually like it is almost like magic. One of the folks on the team, they were doing a meeting with a customer, and the customer's like, "No way, this can't work. This is not real." And they wanted to
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
try it themselves, so they actually like got up on the whiteboard and sketched out
Yeah.
their own thing and took a photo and did it, and it worked. And it,
Mm-hmm.
it was just very magical, I think.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. Charles announced yesterday, because we're recording this while the Power Platform conference is on, more around collaboration or co-authoring. Tell us a bit about that.
So that has been something that we have been working on and will likely continue to work on for a while. Collaboration is going to be key to accelerating app development for everybody who's creating apps. Like gone are the days of times when folks are solely working by themselves, not really connecting with anyone. Like you can still go and build that way and it'll work for you that way, but where we see a lot of use of Power Apps and where we see a lot of apps being really successful is when people are able to work together closely on the same app, whether they have different skills or different kind of expertise in terms of like business knowledge or technical knowledge. Allowing all of those people to work together better is just going to
Mm-hmm.
lead to faster app development, better outcomes for them, and higher quality apps for the folks who are playing and using them. And so a
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
lot of our investments in the past while have been in one, co-authoring the announcement was, so allowing
Yep.
multiple different people to open the app for edit at the same time and make
Mm-hmm.
changes and have those automatically merged in just like you would in the Office apps. incredibly exciting because when you think about traditional development where you have, you check in code and you need it to compile, then you make sure everything works and you have to do a pull request and it gets reviewed. And there's a lot of goodness from that. And like that is still a good way to work for a lot of complex projects. And that will continue to be an option for folks working on the platform. But when you think about how much faster you can go when it's what you see is what you get, it automatically compiles live in front of you. And you've gone and shortened, you have multiple people making those changes and seeing each other's changes as they're working. That's just truly incredible and is going to change the way that people build software.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us about convergence and app convergence specifically with, the two sides of the camp. So the two camps, if you like, the model driven, of course, the Canvas app. And one of the experiences that I'm noticing is that, I go into a new customer and they've been building apps for a bit. And generally when they've been building apps for a bit, common data services, Dataverse is not plugged in behind it, right? Is that they're using another data source and so I see apps being built, if you like, from a interface down layer, interface to data, where, my background was very much a data to presentation layer. And so this concept of convergence is very interesting because, is it going to provide more structure on the Canvas side or is it going to provide less structure on the model-driven side? How do you see the convergence of these apps or these app experience, developer maker experiences coming together?
So I originated from the Canvas side, and over the course of my journey, I've fallen in love with model-driven apps. And I've found, they both have their strengths, and I think that they actually complement each other quite well. Like, I think convergence is not about making them all like one or all like the other, right? Because we don't want to, remove or erase any of the flexibility and customizability of Canvas. However, dragging and dropping every single button and writing every single line of code and connecting and like meticulously managing how every set of data is managed in there is super tedious and error prone, right? So like there's a lot of benefits, but there's some things that folks struggle with. And then on the model driven side, it's based off the data, and that allows you to do things that are really quite powerful with, us being able to provide things right out of the box, like a lot of the collaborative apps capabilities, being able to see other people who are on the same form as you automatically is a pretty wow moment. And getting all of the relevant search pieces out of the box and everything that's based on the data and the data model is fantastic. On the downside, that means there's not a lot of customization or flexibility of those experiences, right? And so really when I think of convergence, it's about being like taking the strengths of both and putting them together. And so it doesn't mean that all these things, like they're going away, right? It doesn't mean that, oh no, like I'm no longer going to be able to drag and drop controls in Canvas apps or, oh no, model-driven apps are going away. That's not the goal. The goal is to bring together the strengths. And so the way that we envision this happening is through becoming much more modularized, right? Today, kind of like it's, your first decision is, okay, what type of app do I want? Instead, we want to see it move to a page level decision, right? So it's like, I can add endless Canvas pages and maybe that's all I ever want to do. And good on you. Like that's great. But if I ever want some of that, I guess, automatic views and forms and dashboards and a lot of the goodness that comes from model driven, I can add a page of that in. And vice versa. If I only ever want to build with my views and forms and dashboards and the experiences that I like today from model driven, I can do that. But if I ever wanted a custom homepage or anything like that, I could then leverage the Canvas stack to add that in.
Totally makes sense. One of the other announcements we've had is around cards and Power Apps. Is that all being done from within the studio?
So we work very closely with the cards team, but
Hmm.
those are other folks on the team. That's going to be super exciting to have that take off, and being able to have those experiences native in Teams and Outlook. Like it's just such a perfect match for the
Yeah.
collaborative, I guess, needs that we're seeing
Hmm.
folks
Hmm.
have, and so I'm really excited that we're able to bring that capability
Yeah.
with Power Apps.
Where we are on our journey around responsive Canvas apps and responsiveness in design.
So that is super top of mind for us. We have a lot of great minds and fingers at work working on those things.
Hmm.
Responsiveness is really interesting. It's going to be core for building apps that look nice on any form factor. The challenge is that if you put in requirements or restrictions for where and how people can place things and only certain places it will work, you lose some of
Hmm.
that customizability, flexibility. And so there's a certain balance that has to be struck between, we want to let folks be able to create what their vision is in the product, but we also want to help guide them to be able to do that automatically in a way that will span across form factors. And so that's
Hmm.
been a lot of the discussion that's gone on, is how do we provide this capability automatically by default out of the box is our goal, but
Yep.
still allow people that flexibility to create what they want. And so over the next year, you'll hopefully be seeing lots of slow and steady improvements coming out for that.
So when you say out of the box, if I was building an app, would it be like, I know it's going to be used on an Android, an iOS device, maybe like a phone device. I know it's not going to be used, let's say, on a tablet device, and it's going to be used on the desktop. Are those going to be kind of like selections that I can go, I want it on this, this, and this, and then it's going to make sure that it'll compile correctly, or resize based on the I assume some type of check on the device that it's sitting on?
Yeah. So the way that it would work is that based on the size where the app is running,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the contents of the page would resize accordingly to fill that based on the layouts and such that have been
Mm-hmm.
selected and built with. So if you
So,
wanted to build something for mobile, uh,
mm-hmm.
and only ever mobile, like you would see it in that mobile form factor in the studio and work on it and build
Yes.
on it, and it would work the way that you saw. And then if you resized it to be on the web, you would see those contents also be able to reflow and resize to fill that
Mm-hmm.
space.
Changing topics, you mentioned before Figma,
Mm-hmm.
and earlier this year we saw the announcement regarding Figma. You've been able to integrate with Figma, and of course this opens up the whole graphic design side of things to work with Power Apps. I've got people on my team doing that exact thing at the moment, and then I was surprised that it was Figma only and not Adobe XD. And then, of course, in the last 3 weeks, we've heard that Adobe has acquired Figma. And does that impact any of your thinking going forward? Or because I say this because I've worked with Adobe for years, and right back, the best web design applications that used to be in the market got acquired by Adobe, and then they wrap them into their other products, and pretty much they just die and disappear. So are we going to see, and of course you don't know this, but the potential is that Figma is going to be deprioritized over the IP out of Figma being pushed into Adobe XD, and then how's that affecting your thinking as a team?
So I think there will always be a place for designers being able to, or anyone else for that matter, being able to take the designs and things that they dream of and sketch out and turn that into an
Mm-hmm.
app. How that happens and with what particular products, like that might change over time. Like right now, we're okay with the Figma integration. It's great. It's working
Mm-hmm.
well. We'll continue to support that. And if things come up, we may consider adding additional support for other products as needed.
What about though? I'll be keen to understand what feedback have you had since Figma has become available? Because it's kind of, for years, I feel it's been a whole area that the app creation experience has been the domain of developers and in our Microsoft land, and not really a lot around the graphic design. And now we're seeing this all come together. Since its launch, what kind of feedback are you hearing from the market? Is there excitement around it? Is there kind of, wow, this makes it so much more engaged, as in like to create a fusion team, you are really giving the tools to the various stakeholders in that scenario. What's been the feedback in market?
The feedback in market has been pretty great so far. Like, I think it has gotten to an opportunity, like it's been perceived as a great opportunity for folks to work together better.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it's less of an entirely, different handoff open to interpretation along the way. And it's more everyone's able to work together on the same tool set, essentially. Like the feedback on specifically the Figma toolkit to convert it is that we want more controls and more options. And we hear that same feedback for the product as well. So I think it's more of a feedback for the product than specifically for Figma. But in general, it's been good being able to bring those audiences together and help them work together more efficiently.
Is there a roadmap for how that integration is going to work, and will more be added, or have we gone as far as we're going at this point?
So right now it's in preview. We are working towards general availability and improving the conversion and everything, and the other options that are available inside of the toolkit for the GA date soon. We'll likely continue to invest and figure out how we make the round trip between Figma and the app better. For example, looking at doing, instead of just an entire app at the beginning, what if you could take a Figma screen and convert that to an individual screen or page inside of an app, and be able to, instead of having the whole app need to be built out at the beginning to convert, just do it piecemeal as you need. And it would be much easier for folks to be able to take that and build it out as they need, if the designer or whoever was involved in the process along the way.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Even what you're talking about convergence, app convergence before, is that if it's more modular, I can just design the piece, the feature that's needed here in context of that. That's awesome. I'm loving where everything is going. Before I let you go, is there anything else that's top of mind for you?
I think in general, the community and the makers I get to work with are fantastic. There's a lot of, exciting things that I'm grateful to get to work on to be able to provide for the community. Another top of mind one is, export to PDF and working with files, which is also some improvements coming there soon as well. So that, among other things, it's just been great to have the active voice of the community helping give input on the directions we're going in and the things that we're investing in. So looking forward to more of that.
I like it. Emma, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Business Application MVP Mark Smith, otherwise known as the NZ365 Guy. If there's a guest you'd like to see on the show from Microsoft, please message me on LinkedIn. If you want to be a supporter of the show, please check out buymeacoffee.com/NZ365 Guy. How will you create on the Power Platform today? Ciao.